Brian Grant, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. It's so great to have you on my show, the Rematch. Basketballnews.com and Fly TV. I gotta be honest with you. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time. Just from even before getting to the NBA and playing against you, I was a big fan of yours. I'm at Syracuse, and Coach Lewis Orr was our assistant coach. So he would talk about you all the time because he saw us kind of like a similar type of a style on the court.
Yeah.
So we talked about you all the time, and I was just following you. And, I'm so proud of all the work that you're doing. You had a great career, what you're doing off the court. So it's an honor. So let me just say that before we even get started.
Well, I tell you what, there's certain people that come in the league and you're just like, okay, whatever. But there's others that come in and you like, man, I got to go against him tonight. You was one of them cats. It was kind of like playing against myself because we were both hardcore, going to the basket, and both ran the floor like deers.
Yeah.
And, wasn't scared to stick our necks out for our team, man.
I know. It's crazy. I remember playing against you one time here in D.C. with the Wizards. You was in Portland. And we were was you in Portland or Miami? You might have been in Miami. No, you was in Miami then. And we was literally battling the entire game. Like it was just, it was like when Kobe talked about when he played against MJ and he wanted to do his best and he wanted, so it was like that kind of intensity the whole game. So I remember after the game, we had finished battling the whole time and I started walking over towards you. And so our assistant coach, Michael Korn, he told me later, I was like, okay, are they about to fight? Do I need to jump in between them? He said, and then y'all came up there and y'all hugged. And then y'all started talking, and it was all that. He was like, "Oh, okay, they like each other."
Yeah, man. Some people really don't get that. The one who talked to me about that the most was Karl Malone. Yeah, when he ended up going on a fishing trip with me, we were talking, and he was like, the thing that I admire about you is that you leave it on the court, and I always try to leave it on the court, because whatever happens on the court, it's just. We're battling, we're both trying to get a win for our teams. But as soon as we step off that court, we're individuals, and I had nothing but respect for you. I respected you more that you didn't back down. I'm trying to get you to back down, like bam, bam, bam. And you just like keep it coming. I'm like, damn.
It's funny. You mentioned Karl Malone. I remember when y'all were going toe to toe and it was during the playoffs and you were like, you know what I mean? Like this. Yeah. And he was saying, I remember that. And that was you not backing down from him. And, and I imagined you saying, ain't nobody scared of you. Ain't nobody, you was literally going, like y'all was this close to each other. You was letting him know. And I was like, oh, yeah, that dude is the truth right there.
Well, I tell you what, man, in that series, the emotions were high. And you know how it was to play in Utah at that time, man.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on the court. But, yeah, sometimes you lose it a little bit. And I said what I had to say. But if you watch Karl never moved. His demeanor never changed. He just chewed his gum and said, Brian, I did not mean to hit you with that elbow, and you know it.
That's what he said?
After all the words that I said to him, that's what he said to me, and we was pulled apart. And next game, I was able to hold him to 8 points in 46 minutes.
I remember.
So it's all about leaving it on the court, man. Basketball is basketball. Some people get tangled up, things happen, but I was one of those guys. If you was a hard worker, you had my respect. Yeah. You had my respect.
And just that style of play. Because, we're kind of like the dinosaur now. The young guys now, they don't play like us.
Yeah.
Like my son, he's tall and stuff, but he just wants to play like KD and play like Giannis and Euro step all over the place. It's just it's a different game. But I appreciated your game, like you, Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, those big men that are like rugged, going in there in the paint, rebound, blocking shots, scoring, dunking hard. That's what I patterned my game after.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of game anymore. I really don't know if I could be successful. Maybe I could because I'd have to change to the times. But you and I would have a tough time. You got to learn. You got to be able to have range out to three.
Yeah.
Guard smaller dudes.
Yeah.
Any kind of hard foul, we getting technical, so we're gonna be out of the game with those.
Right. And I had no desire to shoot a three. That wasn't. I had no desire. Like you shot a few jumpers. I had no desire to shoot jumpers. I wanted to be in the paint. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's why I wanted to do all the dirty work.
That's where my best shot came, was right at the rim.
Right at the rim, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So listen, so now, you know, you have the book Rebound, and there's so much I want to talk to you about it. But even going before, let's start before you even wrote the book. At what point did you come forward with Parkinson's? You know, because for a while you kept it quiet. And I'm doing a little bit of, you know, watching some of your old interviews and things of that nature because I was following you. But you kept a lot quiet. What made you want to or decide to come forward with what you were going through?
Well, I mean, it was the fact that I couldn't explain to people why I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. And what I mean by that is I wanted to interview and try to be a commentator. That was, you know, kind of what my degree was in college.
Okay.
And once the tremor started in the hand, you know, I couldn't do that. And I hadn't really been diagnosed yet. Like the first individual I told that I had Parkinson's after I was diagnosed was Jerome Kersey, the late Jerome Kersey.
Okay.
We were at a game in Portland, and myself, Jerome, and Chris Deli, we were being honored. So they walked us out on the court, and as we're going out, I said, Jerome, I have Parkinson's. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, man, I don't know what to do. He said, just come on out here. I got you, brother. And we went through throwing balls and shirts into the stands. And afterwards, we went back in the hallway, and he said, man, I couldn't even tell. He said, are you all right? I said, I'm good. I just literally found out a couple of days ago that this tremor that I have is Parkinson's.
Oh, wow.
And so I waited about 2 or 3 months after that, got in touch with Rick Bucher, and that's when I announced to the world that I had it. And I was glad that I did. You know, ended up getting a call from Michael J. Fox and Lonnie Ali, who was Muhammad's wife, you know, with some encouraging words, not telling me that I have to go public with it, but just telling me that if I do go public, then this is a lifelong journey. And so, you know, after hearing that from them, I was like, I was in 100%.
You know, I saw you after that do a lot of work with Michael J. Fox, talking about how instrumental he was, you know, and just once you started talking about it publicly, things of that nature.
You know, I'm a big movie buff, man. I'm a fan. So first and foremost, I was a fan of his, you know, Frighteners, movies like that, Back to the Future. And, you know, when I entered in, I didn't know exactly what it was that I wanted to do for the Parkinson's community, other than letting them know that I had it as well. So I would go to his events. He ended up coming to our event, and we just worked together and built this relationship where if I needed something, I knew I could ask or call on him, and vice versa. And so we continued that relationship. He is kind of taking a step back from doing a lot of stuff that he used to do because he's progressed so far. And then Lonnie, you know, since Muhammad has died, hasn't been a whole lot that their camp has been doing either. So, but still maintain those friendships.
Wow. So how did you connect with Rick Bucher to you know, co-author your book? Like how did that happen?
Because he's the one that announced when he was working for ESPN that I had Parkinson's. He came down for the day with a film crew. They stayed the whole day, filmed me and the kids, and then ran the story. And he did such a good job of it. I kind of kept in touch with him over the years, here and there. And then when I finally got to the point where I was ready to write a book, you know, I interviewed 2 other people who had good reputations as far as ghostwriters. But when I interviewed him, I knew that if I wanted it to be conveyed in my words, he was going to be the best person to do that because he is in the sports game. He knows the ups and downs for us as players and things that happen and can happen in our lives. So that's why I chose him.
You know, I remember coming out to your foundation early on. And this was still kind of in the early parts. I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was in the early parts. But your foundation has grown so much since then. What you're doing with the Brian Grant Foundation and Shake It Till You Make It. So talk about what you do with both.
Well, you know, since the pandemic has hit, we've gone virtual with our gala. We actually have one coming up May 12th, which people can log in online, and it'll be myself and my director, Katrina Call, doing like a live show. Mm-hmm. I think Raphael Sadiq is either going to perform or he's going to send the performance in. Pat Burke, who is a good friend of mine, he's done a couple of clips that we're going to show. It's going to be a fun night, and that's what we can do within this pandemic. And we did it last year, and we ended up raising a couple $100,000 for the foundation, and only had to spend like 15. Right. So that was great. So that's really what's going on with Shake It right now. As far as the foundation goes, we keep exploring new techniques and exercise that help with, and that's me shaking right here now, brother. I mean, you've been around me.
Yeah, I've been around you. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know you're still a little bit self-conscious about it sometimes. But you don't. I remember even when we first met, I saw you kind of self-conscious about it. You try to, talk to me about that part, because I've seen you talk in different interviews, and you talk about how that was really a tough part for you to get past, is the self-conscious part.
Yeah, I mean it comes up. It shows its face in certain things, and of course, I'm on here with you, somebody who's a warrior, somebody that I went to battle with, somebody who I have a great deal of respect for. So in the back of my mind, my mind starts talking to me a little bit, like, man, you used to be able to battle. Now I psych myself out a little bit.
I hear you.
When I ought to be like, appreciative that I'm able to be here on your show, and thankful that you've asked me to come on here, and nobody's looking at the chairman. Most of the time it's just me.
Well, but yeah, you're before we go even further, you're an inspiration to so many people. I mean, if you just look at the different people who are commenting and talking about from different interviews that I've seen you do, and this is just now, your book is just now coming out, but this is like, it's something where people find strength in you. So then they know how, I dealt with this a little bit when I had my open heart surgery, and, I felt, it was just different. But then I started getting letters from people who were like, I find my strength in you, or my grandfather, because usually something that older people have. My grandfather found strength and felt that he was going to be okay because he saw you being okay and stuff. And that's how people are looking at you. So you're an inspiration for so many people. That's why, I have so much admiration for you on the court. Literally, like I said, I studied you and was patterning my game after you when I was in college. But then seeing everything that you're doing off the court moving forward, it's so, it even surpasses everything that you did on the court, because it's something that's going to be cemented for, all of time. So I just want to let you know how much respect I have for you, for having also the courage to be able to use yourself and open up in a way that will be helpful to other people.
Well, brother, I have the same amount of respect for you. You can ask my son Elijah. I've done a ton of Zooms. I've done a ton of interviews and everything. But this is the one that I kept asking, when is it with Etan? When do I do it with Etan? Because, brother, I've followed you over the years, from the background, seeing the work that you're doing. I mean, you're a very, very intelligent brother, and you convey your messages so clear, man. And I just want to say I appreciate you and what you're doing in the community with all different topics, different topics. And, that is not intimidating to me, but I got so much respect for it. I don't want to mess it up on my turn. On your show.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
I had some butterflies coming on here, man.
No, you don't need that. It's funny. Let me say this even before we go. Start talking about the book in particular. I always got, and I want to ask you, I never asked you this, but I always got people mistaking me for you. Or like they would come up to me and they were like, you look just like Brian Grant. And sometimes I was like, okay, is it just the locks? We both have locks. You know how people are. People think all brothers look the same, especially with locks. I mean, I've had people ask me, about LeVar Arrington. I mean, Shazaa from Different World. You remember him? Somebody swore I was Shazaa. Lady at the train asked me if I was Savion Glover. I was like, wait a minute, he's like 2 feet shorter than me. But like with you, people were like, well, no, y'all kind of look alike. So this is a little bit different. So I got that all the time.
Yeah, no. and we battled. And honestly, if you watched the game the night before and saw me playing against somebody, and the next night saw your team playing, you would say, "Damn, is that the same person?" Because we go at it so hard. We went at it so hard. We was just them scrappy dudes that scrapped on the inside. Stepped up, helped, great defense. Didn't shoot many jumpers, but definitely was going to get that offensive rebound and tap it back in.
For sure. Yeah, that was our bread and butter. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That was great. All right, so let's talk about the rebound. Like, there's a lot of directions that you went in this book. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you about one in particular because I was a little bit surprised when I saw this part. Is that you took some of the shift the focus and talked about your mistakes. And I was like, I didn't expect that to be in this book. You know what I mean? I didn't expect it to go in that direction. But specifically with your first marriage. Mm-hmm. And I got to be honest with you, I was one of the people who felt a certain way about your ex-wife because the thought or the rumor or what was going around was that she left because you had Parkinson's. And she couldn't deal with it. And I was one of the people that was like, she did what? So I was one of those people probably that you wrote that part for to clear it up. But talk to me a little bit about that part that you put in the book.
Yeah, no, I've always known I had a story that's worth reading. Like if it wasn't my story and I read, I'd be like, damn, I can't believe all that stuff happened to that cat. Right. But I didn't want to write a book that everybody expects me to write, which is talking about the good deeds and the things that happen and, just what I call a fluff piece. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to write about my life, then I'm going to tell it all. I'm going to talk about Parkinson's, but I'm also going to talk about where I grew up. I'm going to talk about college, overcoming things, making it to the NBA, afterwards having my struggles and getting to this point where I'm at right now. And I always knew that this wasn't a book to blame people. This was a book for my own redemption to put what I've done out there. And the number one thing I wanted to clear up was the fact that I felt that a lot of people thought that she left because I had Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. Brother, I ruined that thing throughout my NBA career. I mean, cheating, I had a son, all this stuff, and she stood by me. But the one thing that I couldn't do, and that was kind of, the last straw, was when she started her career in Zumba, because she's big time in Zumba. Right. If your wife or somebody knows Zumba, say Gina Grande, oh yeah. Right. I couldn't support her because of things that were going on with people within her organization and friends of mine who used to play.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I couldn't respectfully, follow that and then pushing her away. And then that's what led to things starting to really crumble. And that was, that was before I even knew I had Parkinson's.
Right. Okay, got you. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting that you put that part in there because you didn't have to. Literally, you didn't have to. And you put that on there to kind of, like I said, shift the focus and clear the air. Yeah, and I thought that was really big. But there's so much else that you discussed in the book. What are some of the main messages that you want people to get out of it? Like, what are the main, especially dealing with Parkinson's? Because now you're, like you said, Michael J. Fox kind of took a step back. Muhammad Ali's wife kind of took a step back. So now you're, the main person really out talking about, awareness and everything like that about Parkinson's, because a lot of people still aren't really that clear about it, to be honest with you. So you're educating people as well as helping other people with it. So you have a lot that you're doing right now, but talk about that aspect.
Well, there's a big Parkinson's community out there that I've become a part of. And we're not talking about people who are in film, people who are well-known. We're just talking about everyday people. And connecting people is one of the best things I've been able to do, is connect people from Portland to groups in the Bay Area, to groups in Delaware, Miami. And so we as an organization try to continue to connect people and talk to them about being proactive, about their disease with nutrition and exercise. As far as being at the forefront, there are several leaders out there who are pushing ideals and meds that are currently helping us as patients. But, connecting people, staying connected to people is the best way you learn about this disease. I tell you, I've learned more about Parkinson's from other Parkinson's patients than I have from my neurologist because everyone's so different. And I could be in a room with 5 people, or you and I could have the exact same symptoms, look alike, everything. And meds that I take might make you super sick. And meds that you take might hype me up or make me fall asleep because everyone's brain is different. And so just trying to connect people, continuing to connect people.
I think one of the things that you're open about is throughout your book is the struggle of thinking in the back of your mind. You mentioned it earlier about what people are thinking about you. You talked about the story about, you was in line for I believe it was for something, and you were looking around thinking if everybody's looking at you, but not thinking that they're looking at you because you're Brian Grant, you know what I mean, and playing the NBA for 13 years, but looking at you because they're looking at your tremors. Like, talk about that aspect of it that you dealt with a lot in the book as well.
We're both 6'8", 6'9". We're some tall brothers. We're big. Some of us a little bigger than others.
I know, right?
Yeah. But it's just that insecurity that sits in, being so tall. I'm already being looked at because I'm tall. And I think I've kind of gotten past that over the years. But then when I get put in a situation where I time my meds to go and do something, and that time goes over and I can feel the tremors and stuff starting to come back, that's when I get nervous and start sweating, because I'm like, I start thinking what I would do if I was a little kid and I saw a big giant shaking, didn't know nothing about it. I start playing out all these scenarios in my head. Some may be true, but most of them aren't, because, especially if I'm here in Portland, everybody knows me, so they know I have Parkinson's. But it's my own insecurities that come up. And I've been to the point where, I'll start shaking and I'm ready to get out of line and somebody's looking and I'm this close to being like, what are you looking at?
Oh, wow.
And right before I say something, the person's wife says, we just want to tell you, man, we love what you're doing. My husband has Parkinson's. And I'm just like,
oh, wow.
Man, thank God I didn't,
Wow.
So, yeah, I got to watch myself with that. But I'm getting better. I get better each and every year, Etan. It's not something that just automatically happens with people, man. You know what I mean?
Of course, it takes time. But that's what you're stressing in your book. Talk to me about what else you're talking about in your book. You in the subtitle you put you're finding out what really matters, and I thought that was like a good transition when that started towards the end of the book, when you're talking about your family. You talk about your legacy in terms of your children, and when we talk about our kids, your whole face just lights up. Talk about that aspect as well.
When we came up with the title, finding out what really matters, I kind of found out that through the process. I've always known that my kids matter. It's not like I'm saying I didn't know that they didn't matter, that they matter. But when I got through this whole process and went over it again and again, it was like, of course it's your kids, because everything that I've been through, ups and downs, the kids have always been there. They're always going to be there for the most part, unless I push them away. And I can think of a lot of years that I might not have been here because of depression, because of feeling sorry for myself and things like that. But it was always those kids that came in and showed me unconditional love, and that, no matter what happens with this, Daddy, we're with you. We're with you. And that's really what matters, is my kids, and then the way I treat other people, friends. I had to quit getting ghost on people, because people started calling me Space Ghost. It was like, I call you, you never call me back, and that I get worried about you, dude.
Right.
And so, like my cousin, he'd just pop up like, hey man, you ain't answering my calls. I'm over here to make sure you cool. I'm like, I'm cool, just going through it, that type of thing. But now my kids, I mean, they've been wonderful. They've been wonderful through this whole process, and it's only going to continue,
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned depression and you talked about depression as being part of the process, and a lot of people are suffering in silence. And seeing someone like Brian Grant be able to openly discuss depression is something that gives them strength to know, because a lot of times people dealing with stuff feel that they're the only ones dealing with it and nobody else, like they're completely alone. And your book will be something that you give to somebody that can bring them out of their depression. So talk about that part as far as opening up about depression, and how you even found the strength to open up about it.
Well, I tell you, the first time that I had depression that I knew was actually depression was right when I retired. And I can remember that last year in Phoenix, sitting down talking to Vinny Del Negro, and he just kind of held the conversation up and said, are you thinking about retiring? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, Brian, I just want to give you a word of advice. There's not that much fishing. There's not that much golf. There's not that much anything to fill your day. And when we retire from something we've done our whole lives, there's going to be some depression that follows with it. Some guys get a lot of depression. Some guys get a little bit because they find things to do. So I hope you find things to do. So, of course, when I retired, we moved back to Miami. Bam. I mean, I just went over the falls. And I was one of those types of people, Etan, that literally thought that people who were depressed were weak-minded. I thought that, come on, how can you be depressed? This is a beautiful world, all this beautiful stuff out here, until it hit me. And when it hit me, it took me 6 months of arguing with Gina, getting loud in front of my kids, scaring the shit out, excuse my language, scaring the crap out of them, and just ruining things. Because I wouldn't admit that I was depressed. And finally, after 6 months, it was like I was given the ultimatum: either you go and see somebody or we don't have to go. And so I did. I went and I saw somebody, and I was diagnosed with clinical depression, which probably was brought on by the fact that almost 80% of the dopamine producing cells in my brain were already dead. And so, dopamine and serotonin give you good feelings when you're feeling good, and 80% of those cells are already gone. So I ended up going and getting help. I got put on Zoloft. I was seeing a psychologist. And after about 9 months, I started to feel normal again. And I just say this to anybody out there: even if you don't think that you're depressed, but you've had some of these symptoms, go and get it checked out anyway, because that's no way to live. It's no way to live. I mean, you can have depression without Parkinson's, and it be something that can send you over the edge and ruin your life if you don't get it looked at. So have the courage and strength to go out and get that help that you need.
Well, like I said, I have so much respect for you for being so open in your speaking engagements and interviews and in your book about everything that you've gone through. And like I said, my mother would always tell me that when you go through something, it's not meant for you; it's meant to help somebody else. And that's just exactly what you're doing. And I just think it's so admirable. So much respect to you. Let me ask you one last question, and then I'll let you go. So the 2000, listen, I'm watching this. Okay, so I'm just coming out of college, and you're playing against the Lakers, and I remember being in the, I was my agent. They was trying to get me to come over there. Arn Tellum and Rob Pelinka, they brought me to the game. So that game where Kobe came down and threw the oop, and then Shaq caught it, pointing to the crowd. I'm in the crowd there watching, right? Yeah. But I'm there, and really, I'm rooting for Portland. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really like, come on, and people kind of looking around at me like, who's this cat rooting for? So, and my wife's family is from LA. So even, the next game and the next game after that, I'm at their house, and her brother, diehard Lakers fan. They all Lakers, everything. And I'm sitting there, and something happened. I'm like, yeah, good job. So like that. And he looked at me like, wait, who are you rooting for here? You know what I mean? So I'm important. Talk to me about that series, because I really think y'all could have won that series. Like it was like it was this close. Like, talk to me about that series.
Woo! Man, I've had some memorable moments, in my 12 years in the league. The Karl Malone thing was great, beating Utah. Yep. But the one thorn that's always going to stick in my side is 2000 playoffs. Mm-hmm. We came out the box, beat them game 1 in LA. We're feeling ourselves. Yep. They beat us 3 games in a row. Yep. 3 games in a row. Now our backs are against the wall. We got to come back to LA. I think we go back to LA. We win a game. Then it comes back to Portland. And maybe I got where we played at. We ended up tying the series 3-3. Yep. And the game started off with us being super hot. We're hitting everything, man. Steve's hitting threes, Pip's hitting threes, Damon. And we get to that fourth quarter, and I think there's maybe like 6 minutes to go. Someone shot a three-pointer. I don't know if it was Horry or if it was Brian Shaw. Shot a three-pointer and banked it in. And I can remember being on the bench going like, oh, my God. Just something came over me like, here they come.
Right.
And for the next maybe 8 to 10 possessions, we could not buy a basket. Sabonis fouls out. I go in. I'm playing with 5 fouls and, Jermaine. And it just came down to the end. And I remember that play so vividly because I'm holding Shaq. You felt it too.
Right.
I'm holding him, trying to keep him from coming in the lane. And I just see Kobe blow past whoever he's on. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to step over there late and let this cat posterize me.
Right.
I'm hoping that my help side is going to come down and crack down on Shaq. So I jump over like, stop.
Yeah.
And up goes the ball. Yeah. I turn my head. Shaq dunks it. Throws the arms out. Yeah. And I really wanted to trip him.
Yeah,
he's running. I'm like, want to just stick my foot out like,
right.
But it was. I mean, when we walked into that locker room, man, it was like it's like if we'd have been little kids, we'd have been all crying. But we grown as man, we sitting there going, just looking around like, does anybody have anything to say? Nobody had nothing to say. It was like we could not believe we just lost that game. We had that game the whole way, and they turned it up, and they went on to be the dynasty team that they became, and our team just started fracturing off.
Yeah.
And I had to go on, get Ghost, went down to Miami, play go into a situation that was looking real good when Zoe was healthy. Right. Eddie Jones, Tim Hardaway, Dan Marley, me at the 4, Mace.
Yeah.
So that was a tough series, man.
But y'all had them though. Y'all it didn't turn out right, but y'all had them cats. And I don't care, Lakers fans don't want to admit it now, but they were shook a whole lot of times in that series because it looked like y'all had them. Y'all had them on the ropes.
Yeah, there's something funny about them ropes, man. Like when you get somebody up against them ropes, you got to finish them.
You got to finish them.
Because they're going to be desperate and start swinging back and, let our guard down and slip one in on us, man. And that was the one that took us out.
Right.
Took us out.
Man, but great career. Like I said, so much respect for you. Love all the stuff you're doing now. The book is called Rebound. Out now, out at everywhere, Amazon, whatever, every different place. So please go and get it. So much respect to you. Thanks again, Brian.
Hey, brother, thank you for having me on. I'm available anytime you need me, man. I mean that.
That's me too, though. Stuff with your galas and your stuff with your foundation. Definitely want to get back, involved with it. Now, doing a whole lot of stuff. So just let me know as well.
Will do, man.
All right.
You have a good one.
You too. Bless.